everybody, welcome to Reels, Riffs, and Rants. I'm joined today by Danforth Comins, an actor and star in Border Hunters. That's going to be released November 18th on all streaming platforms. Thanks for joining us, Danforth.
Thanks for having me.
How was that? I know we just premiered it at Newport Beach Film Festival. And
It was great. It was exciting. It was, those events are always a little bit outside my comfort zone. I'm a little more of a wallflower, so I always have to kind of work myself up for those events, but it was a fun one.
I saw you on the red carpet. I felt like you felt, super confident.
I mean, you've done enough. I do enough of them, and you kind of know to, you have to step up and just, be your best self. But, it was a lot of fun. It was great to see it on the big screen. Hadn't seen it on the big screen, so that was exciting. It was really, it's exciting. Let me use that word a few more times. It's exciting to there's a real sense of accomplishment to see something come to life that you put so much effort and time into.
I mean, you looked amazing in the movie. Your workout regimen, I would see you every morning working out, training hard for this role. I mean, it shows.
Thanks.
You got some really cool action fighting scenes. Check this guy out.
You got to try to look the part, and so I was doing my best to keep up with the youngins, as it were, and every morning, rise or shine, and sometimes those days start early, so I'd be up at 4:30 or 5 trying to get it in. But I was glad we did, and the entire team did a great job. I'm really proud of everyone in it, from all the producers from the beginning when we started working on it, in pre-production with the writer, with Pedro, and then when we started assembling all the talent, the team, and put everyone together, and then of course getting down to Puerto Vallarta and spending a few months down there.
It's so beautiful there.
Oh, it's fantastic! What a great place.
Except for the mosquitoes, that was brutal.
Mosquitoes take a little while to get used to. I think they love our tourist blood, we're exotic, delicate treats for them, But it was really good. And then to see, all the work that was put in, from the crew and the cast on set, battling at times those really hot, humid conditions.
Oh my God, And then you guys wore like full tactical gear, and it's not really breathable attire.
It's not the most breathable attire, but you get used to it after a little while, and you get used to living in, your own sweaty funk, which is always delightful. And you try not to get too close to your co-partner or your co-actor's fellow funk, but sometimes it's unavoidable. But we did our best. No, everyone was great, and then seeing that the work that was done in post-production, Jolene and Tamara and the whole team on that end, just making it sing and making it come to life. And of course, none of this would not happen without Ruben and Ruben Islas and his desire to go film in Boca de Tomatlan, which is just south of Puerto Vallarta.
Also, fun fact, they shot Predator there with Arnold.
They did back in the day. You can actually still tour some of the old, I think the wrecked helicopter is still there. It's quite a ride up the mountain to see it, but it's all there. It was a lot of fun jumping through the jungle there and getting to play a badass, which is not typically what I am.
But lately he has been, actually.
Right.
He's also in Final Vow. He plays John Crawford, but we'll get back to that.
Also coming out streaming here in
November 21st. Other than the physicality of prepping for this role, what did you do to prep? Mentally.
Part of it was looking at the script and really trying. I just try to read the script over and over and over again, so that you almost create a photographic memory of what the script is and how it lays out. And I find that the more I can read it, the less memorization I have to do. No one likes to memorize. So the more you can become familiar with it, the more you can just know it inside and out, the better. So it always starts with the text and the script for me. And then it was analyzing my part in it and knowing that I'm kind of in an anti-hero position, not quite the hero, not the villain, somewhere kind of in the middle. And that's kind of a luxurious position to be in, because the anti-hero doesn't have to play by all the niceties that the hero often does. And then really it was a lot of the physical training. I didn't have too much of the emotional burden of this one, so I didn't have to go deep on that one per se. But just trying to stay in the moment and listen and be attentive to my partners. In terms of the actual preparation, the luxury of having Ernie Padilla and Fernando Huerta on set, both of whom have extensive experience in tactical expertise, and they trained us, and that was a huge part of it, because if you're playing,
they were a huge asset to the film.
They were,
because I hate when you watch films and you're like, okay, like that doesn't seem real. I mean, the action sequences here, the shooting, everything seems so legit. And it's just like, I think when people watch action movies or fellow cops or military backgrounds, they look and take notes of the mistakes that are made within films, because you're like, oh, that wouldn't happen.
And nothing will make them turn the channel quicker.
Exactly.
Fernando will text me screenshots of like, look at this guy entering the room. Look where his finger's at. Look at him flagging the guy in front of him. All that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And that's what we wanted to make sure that we.
And I mean, you guys nailed it.
We tried. I would look hard for any of those moments of little mess ups, and I'm sure they're there. But Fernando and
I'm sure only you guys could see them, if there are any.
I hope so. Ernie and Fernando were very happy with how it turned out in that respect, so that was good. So that was a big part of it. Also, just you're playing a guy who's supposed to be a special forces badass. You try to emulate that as best you can. I've done a lot of stage combat in my life.
Tell us a little bit about your background, because I know the viewers don't really know.
Well, my background initially is in theater, classical theater, really. Although when I went to school, it was an acting directing program for both TV, film, and camera, as well as the stage. But I just fell into an acting company, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is the country's largest regional theater, or at least it was pre-pandemic. The pandemic has shifted things quite a bit. But at one point in time, we had a $45 million operating budget. We had 600 employees, an acting company of over 100. We'd do 11 plays in rep. And I worked there for like 15, 16 years, on and off, over the course of 2 decades. And,
it's very well known.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely wonderful theater. If you ever grew up in Southern Oregon, you should absolutely make the trip. It's absolutely worth it. Top-notch, world-class theater and artists. And so, in my training from school, I went and got a mighty fine actor degree, as we call it, an MFA in acting directing, and included in that was an extensive stage combat. I was trained by Robin McFarquhar, a British man who's amazing fight master. And you learn how to fight safely, hopefully. And that was a big part of, it's been a big part of my career. I've been lucky enough to play a lot of those kind of leading men, now transitioning more into the wily, salty, veteran. But I had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of stage combat, and was excited to be able to show that in this film.
Yeah. Well, you definitely were up there with the youngins. I mean, you did kick some ass. And so what was your favorite part of this movie, Border Hunters?
I had a lot of favorite. I think just being on the ground with everyone and making, when you're on location in a foreign country, you sometimes have to MacGyver stuff. You have to take some bubble gum and some twine and make it work. We had a decent budget, but it wasn't unlimited by any means. And sometimes you have to stretch a dollar to make a 10. And I was really proud of the work that everyone did in that respect. My favorite moment in the film, I think would probably be. The action sequences were a lot of fun. Jumping through the river. Running through the river, being tailed by Willie Macias and Pia Sanz, that was a lot of fun. My favorite moment would probably be the cabin sequence between Julio and I, where we just sit and talk for a moment.
That was actually really cool, and the lighting hits you guys, and it's just like, it's a very intimate moment between like the hero and, as you said, anti-hero or hero, but you guys, I felt like that scene was really powerful, and you guys really bonded, and
Fortunately, I've had a chance to work with Julio a couple times, and he's a very gracious partner, very giving, and I think if there is a scene that there's two or three scenes that really kind of hone in on the theme of the film, and that's one of those scenes, and made it very enjoyable to perform, because there's some substance behind that dialogue. It's not all cover me, we'll run the block. It's not all just action, blah blah blah. There's some real intense dialogue, meaningful dialogue.
One of my favorite scenes was at the yard in the prison. Like, that was a really cool scene. Very unassuming, reading your book, and then this badass just like.
That was an interesting thing. We filmed at a jail, county jail that's not being used for that anymore. Although there were a couple of people. Actually, it's not true. There were a couple of people that were still
Real prisoners?
Yeah, there were a couple. I think it was more like a drunk tank from the night before. A couple of guys were still there. I don't think the real violent ones were there. But we were across the street from the main prison. And our on-the-ground coordinator for locations and extras rounded up all these fantastic extras. And we filled this little tiny prison yard out with a pretty amazing group of guys. And they were all so
very
fun.
eclectic.
Very eclectic. Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys to watch it because it's really entertaining.
Yeah, and we shot in some actual cells, and I'm knock on wood, I've never had to spend the night in a cell. And after this experience, I'm devoting my life to not ever. So.
Good. I think that's a good path to go down. All right, so we're gonna dive into Final Vow.
Great.
All right, so what was your experience? What were your highs, your lows?
Final Vow will always hold a very special place in my heart because it was the first time that I was working with the team, as we call it now, and brought in to not only be an actor, but brought in to be kind of what would you call me initially, kind of an advisor, or kind of hey, read the script and give us your thoughts, kind of thing. You and Ruben have been working on the idea for quite a while. I knew that Ruben wanted me to be in it. He had contacted me several months prior, and I was working on a theater contract at the time, and wasn't sure if the dates were going to align. But then the film date kept getting pushed back a little bit, and so it was looking more and more like it would align. And then I came down to San Diego to visit, and
then you ended up staying here for like a month or two, writing.
And Ruben was like, "Hey, stick around." And I'm like, "Nah, I gotta go back." He's like, "Why? What are you gonna get back for?" And this was just after the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was true. I didn't have anything to rush home for.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I want you to help us add some flesh and dialogue to this." And my answer was, "Ruben, I'm not a writer." And he's like, "Oh, bullshit though. You've spent your entire life and career reading and working on some of the best works of literature in the Western canon, at least, that's ever been created. So dialogue. Help us flesh out this script." And so I really kind of
were a huge addition. I mean, the Come to Jesus scene is just, I feel like, everybody's favorite scene. It's so impactful. It's so... Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I will say is about that experience was, and I'm not just blowing smoke. It was a tremendous honor to not only be invited in by Ruben and you into that process, into Ruben's first film that he was directing, but also to be part of your first experience as an actor.
And you helped me so much. So this was my acting coach.
And I was happy to serve in that capacity as well. And
you were super patient with me, which was great.
Well, you did for your first time out. I don't know. I can't imagine anyone doing a better job on their first time out with the role. It was really fantastic and not an easy role. I mean, the highs and the lows you had to go through in that experience were traumatic, to say the least. And I know that there are probably some of those moments that will stick with you forever.
Oh my God, yeah.
Both good, bad, and indifferent. But there were some moments of feeling of pride that I had never experienced before as simply just an actor.
Yeah.
Seeing words come to life that you wrote is something that was new to me, and as you, I'm sure, have experienced with that as well. There's something very moving about watching your words come to life. And in the same way, it was something very moving about watching you step into this part and be able to help you in the small ways that I could get to where you needed to go for those hard moments, And
even watching Ruben, I mean, it was like basically our first kind of like whole thing together, and just seeing each other, and through the process, and then growing, and just being so proud of this little film that we put 110% into.
For sure, and I hope you all get a chance to see it in about a month from now.
Yeah, less than a month.
Less than a month. I'm very excited. I'm going to be sitting on my couch with some popcorn. I wish I knew.
Yeah, so we're not sure when the dates will come out for theatrical, like what cities were picked.
That's
I think closer, I'm going to reach out to our sales department, Tamara, and then figure that out, and then we'll let you guys know as soon as we know. But I believe they're going to be in 5 major cities.
That's what I recall as well.
So but that'll be exciting to go watch it. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times with the editing. We were in the editing process. I mean,
But there's something to be said for seeing it in that situation, and then seeing it, on a format, on a platform that you can also watch side by side with, some of the great cinema.
Yeah,
You know?
it is gonna be crazy. I just like, I don't know. I mean, the movie, we did it, what? It's gonna be 3 years ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Time
we did
flies.
it January of 22. Yeah.
And
3.5.
it's just, I mean, like I said, we've seen this movie so many times, and it's been 3 years, but it's still like, it's gonna trip me out seeing my big face on the Netflix, you know, or Amazon or Apple, and it's just, you know, this little film we did. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, the little
you know,
film
it was an honor having you on it as a writer, as an actor, as an acting coach, as a co-director. I felt like as well.
Well, not quite, but Ruben was very clear that, like, you know, he said, I'm going to listen. I'm going to hear a lot of voices, but I want you close to me and whispering in my ear. And I got the opportunity to do that. And he, for whatever reason, chose to take my advice and some of those movies. And you know, watching him, I've always wanted to be a storyteller. I've known him for, you know, about the same amount of time as you have, for almost coming on 20 years here soon. And I've always wanted to be this great storyteller, but to see him step into that moment and actually kind of fill those shoes as a director.
And you could just see the joy it brought him. Like he was, it was so exciting, and it's, you know, he was here a couple weeks ago, and I asked him if there's anything you would change. He said absolutely nothing. Not even the lead actress, that was a joke. But, you know, he was saying that, and I think you'll agree with him, because I certainly agree with him, but he was saying that we film a little bit more cautious now, whereas like Final Vow was very guerrilla, you know, and I think it was just because we're like, you know, balls to the wall, like let's get these shots, like no matter what.
It was a short shoot too. We did
21 days,
which is, you know, you could do a lot in 21 days.
We did a lot.
But it is challenging, and you have to have, you know, your ducks in a row. And I watched, you know, East Van Letang, our amazing cinematographer, and his crew that he had with him working hard. You know, they were, I mean, no one, very few work as hard as that camera crew, the way they pump those cameras and all that gear up and down, mountains and down mountains and up streams and down
streams. Our locations were kind of
beautiful locations, but not always easy to get to, right? And some of them, you know, downright difficult. I mean, when we shot in a garbage heap, we shot in a dump. You know, we shot some very cold situations, some tricky spots to get into for sure. And
the overnight shoots were difficult too, and the cold was just.
Yeah, you know, I don't know that anyone loves overnight shoots, but I think we made the best of it.
Yeah, and I honestly, I felt like I had so much adrenaline. Like, it didn't feel like a night shoot. I think we all were just so excited to be making this movie, and I mean, I remember being exhausted, but I don't remember being like, oh my god.
I feel like the first night is kind of easy, and the second night's kind of easy, and if you have any more than that, you're screwed. Because your whole biological clock is off, and your circadian rhythms are gone, and your body's going, what the hell, dude? No, it was a lot of fun. It was. And we
had some great actors as well. Luis Gatica, Oscar Torre, Mauricio Mendoza, Jennifer Behrens.
Yeah, we did.
We got lucky with that.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing all those faces again, because I actually haven't watched it for probably over a year or so. It'll be a treat.
It's exciting. So, all right. So you've done. I know that you guys just wrapped King's Hand.
We did.
And you were the sole writer on that, which I never read the script, but I heard it was amazing.
Oh, that's very kind. Yes, saying I was sole writer is a little misleading in so much as we've been talking about this project for 2 years. Ruben had this idea we came up with when we were sitting around his place in Baja one night, and he was musing on one of the themes of the film, and we kind of just started spitballing and took it from there. And we had been brainstorming some other projects, and they weren't really taking off the ground. And I remember waking up on April 9th, and we had heard that morning that that Miguel had passed away. One of the men on our security detail when we were in Mexico.
Amazing, and
really wonderful.
Really close to the family, and he'd been with us for what, two years.
And something about that moment kind of was a catalyst for me. I kind of got out the computer, and I started writing, and I was away for the weekend, which was kind of nice because it was a different environment, and I could just kind of and I sat down and I just started writing, and like 20 pages just came out in like 2 days.
Awesome.
2 or 3 days, 20 pages came out. I remember calling Ruben and being like, hey man, I got like 20 pages or so into this. He's like, really? You think how is it? I'm like, I sent it off to him. He's like, you gotta finish this. You gotta finish this. This is exactly right. So, you know, I just put my head down and finished it in about a month, which was really hard. I remember I told you I did the math, and I was like, okay, I have to average 5 pages a day, which means I need to try to get this self-imposed deadline.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's 3 to 7 pages a day. You got to hit those marks. You know, some days the muse's not with you, so it'd only be 3 pages, but then I would force myself the next day to make up those extra 2. And it was really, it's one of those moments that I'm forever grateful for, because I forced myself, or I was forced by time to do it and get it done. Which was very rewarding. And there's something kind of indescribable about finishing it, writing the end, and then pressing send. Because in that moment, in that singular moment, it's no longer yours. That moment you press send,
for criticism,
it goes to the team, it goes to everyone's going to read it, and so this thing that you've been sitting on, you know, a chicken laying an egg, you've been sitting on this egg for a month, keeping it warm, incubating it, and then all of a sudden it starts to from the inside, starts to tick, 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 and it starts to crack, and everyone, it's not yours anymore. And so anyway, it happened fast. I called Ruben. He's like, get down here. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need to brainstorm the rest, and with you. And so we did. That was after 20 pages. And then I went back home and knocked out the rest in a month, and then flew back down to San Diego and met with Ruben, and he read it, and I knew he was reading it that morning, because we went down to Baja, and he didn't come downstairs. Usually in the morning we're downstairs having coffee, and you know. He didn't come downstairs, and I looked at my watch, and it's 10, my watch it's 11, I'm like, oh, he is upstairs reading it right now, so I'm sweating, and he came down, and you know, as you know Ruben, he will be the first person to say, he's like, I don't do compliments very well, and he came up and he's like, it was really good, man, he gave me a hug, he's like, all right, let's get to work. So at that point in time, we just started pre-production, and the whole experience, top to toe, was, I think, a little right around 4 months, which is kind of insane to get it up and going, from blank page to, you know, to that's a wrap. So hopefully we caught lightning in a bottle. We'll find out once it's all finished.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the assembly cut that we kind of finished with, and then we've kind of put it to bed for a while.
So if you give the viewers a little insight, it's like Dante's Inferno, like a play on that, would you say?
We started off with that, but it kind of used that maybe more as structural, and I'm kind of listing away from using that reference, because I feel like it's a little misleading, and also it's a little bit of a spoiler. So I would say I used that as a structure, as a device for a container, for a structure.
So if you were to give the audience a log line, what would it be?
Oh boy. That's funny, because I wrote a log line. What was it? It was something to the effect of, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember it. But the log line on that would be, let's see, something to the effect of a desperate man hides away at a secluded beach home, trying to rebuild his fractured life. In the process, he examines his sins and his deeds, and begins to question his own sanity as his life spirals out of control. That's all I'm going to give you.
So I had the privilege to watch you guys film these scenes. I mean, they were amazing. The camera work, again, each one did an amazing job. But Steve, wow, Pia did a great job. I mean, just...
It was funny, because initially when we started off, we were going to have it be kind of a narco noir, if you will. But when I was writing, sitting down in front of my computer, I didn't want to write Spanglish. I didn't want to be like, you know, oh, mijo, go out to Mercado and get some, you know, I'll go to the biblioteca and grab something. I didn't want to do that. I was like, I'm going to say
biblioteca.
I just wanted to say biblioteca. But no, I didn't want it to be unauthentic. You know, I wanted it to be. And when I try to write, you know, and add a dialect or a broken English like that, it's not long.
It's not. It's not yours.
I didn't know if it doesn't feel authentic. So I purposely left it, and I was like, if we want this to be narco noir, we'll have native speakers to take those lines and translate that dialogue and make it work. But the happy accident there was when Ruben read it. He was like, I don't want this to be narco at all anymore. This is not about about that. This is about a bad man hiding out.
Regardless of his
Regarding
background.
his background, his race, identity, whoever. It's just a bad man who did bad things, trying to repair his life. And let's just open up the field and cast whoever's right for the role.
Yeah.
So initially I wrote the guy as, you know, Jose, but then we turned to Joe. We wanted to be kind of everyman, you know, wanted to be allegorical in that sense. So Joe, and then in parentheses, tattooed and tattered. So we wanted this guy who's kind of on the back end of being a soldier, back end of being, you know, muscle, who's done some obviously bad things in his life, but now is, you know, he's like think about that king of the jungle lion on the back end being challenged by the young up and coming lions, you know. So we opened it up, and Steve Service is an actor that I've known for, gosh, almost anyone. I met him in grad school almost 100 years ago. And he has stayed a really good friend of mine over those years. We've never worked with each other since. We worked together in the summer of '98 in the Platteville, Wisconsin Shakespeare Festival. The Wisconsin Shakespeare Festival, which is now no longer exists, by many years ago. And we had a great time that summer, and we started working out together. And he kind of has been my trainer off and on all those years.
Yeah, he's been great too.
I called him to ask him a question about Dan's shoulder that gives me hiccups all the time. And he texted back the next morning, and we were in Baja in pre-production already looking at casting possibilities. And I'm walking down to meet with Ruben, and all of a sudden I get a text from Steve about my shoulder, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. Steve. He is totally tattooed and tattered. Like, he's perfect. And so we sent him the script, and I said to Ruben, what about Steve? He's like, workout Steve? Because Ruben knows Steve too. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, have him read. So we sent him the sides, and he's like, Steve was like, really, you want me to read? I'm like, please. And Steve's got a great career. He's been New York based and done, you know, many projects throughout his life. He's got a really nice career. And he read it, gave us a tape, and Ruben saw it and was like, okay, well that's done. Let's figure out who's working around him. So really kind of a happy accident, and another kind of one of those moments that's very touching for me. I was nervous putting Steve forth, obviously, because you know it's my contact. You want to make sure he does a good job. Yeah. And man, I mean,
he brought it.
He could not have done. I can't imagine anyone else playing that role now, and I can't imagine anyone
else. And it was a very dark role, and it's just like, I mean, he's so professional and just so interesting to watch. He's got such an amazing look to him.
He does, and you know, yes, for being such a dark role, he also kept it so light and so much fun. Yeah. And you know, we had a great time on set. There were a couple moments, of course, where he was like, keep people away from me, I gotta stay in this thing. He has headphones in, he's just trying to stay in it. But for the most part, he was one of the most jovial people.
Very nice, very social. I mean, he could talk to everybody. He was great.
Very proud of my boy. He did an amazing job.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, you know, once you guys are finished with the editing and just.
Yeah, really. I was excited. And you know, Ruben likes working with some of the same actors again. He's kind of creating his own little company, as many directors do. Pia and Julio had obviously us before, so to have them in main parts was great. And then we had some other, you know, really wonderful actors, Wayne Carr, Dan Donahue, just some really great actors that were involved in the process. And can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Can't wait to finish it.
Yeah. So also, we don't have a release date for Clay. We wrote that together. And what was your experience on that? You know,
I love that movie. I always have. It's a slow kind of slice of life. You wouldn't really. It's hard to put it in any genre. I mean, it's a romantic dramedy, I guess you would call it. And I love that little film. It's very much an art house film. Whether it ever gets purchased or not is anyone's guess. It might not. It might live in our memory as an art house film.
I hope it does. I mean, it's a cute story. It's it's nothing like I've ever seen before.
Yeah. It's shot beautifully again. The acting in it is really quite good across the board. You know, it's done pretty well in Mexico and some of the festivals that it's gone to, and the actors involved have been given some nice accolades.
Karime, she won an award for it. I'm sorry, I forget.
As did Renee.
Renee won an award as well. But Karime asked to be on the show, so I'm hoping to bring her on soon. But I mean, Mazatlan is gorgeous, and that was so nice, you know.
And that was a treat
beautiful
too
place.
for us because, you know, we had just come out Final Vow,
Yeah.
and Ruben had this idea for this story and kind of said, go. And then we had to, you know, I remember you and I splitting up scenes, and you go work on this, and I'll go work on that, and then we stitched it all together and started shooting.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, that was our first time shooting kind of in a fish out of water scenario. You know, I think in Baja we all had been there enough to feel slightly comfortable with the surroundings.
Absolutely.
Well, none of us had really spent a whole lot of time in Mazatlan,
Yeah.
and they're going for a weekend or a week for a vacation or something like that. But to be there for like 3 months and get to know all the amazing, amazing.
And it's such a tight knit community. Everybody knows everybody. The restaurants. I mean, the Malecon.
We met some people that we'll be friends with for the rest of our lives down there. Some really beautiful,
absolutely.
people.
Not only, I mean, is it beautiful, but the people, culture, and
the food. Oh my gosh, the mariscos.
Mariscos.
The sunsets on Malecon. Yeah, we had a really great time down there.
Hopefully, one of these days you guys get to watch that movie.
I hope so.
Yeah. So I know that also we did. I wouldn't say that Border Hunters was a prequel to Gringo, but I kind of feel like it was. I know there's a show on Netflix called Gringo Hunters, hence why we had to change the name to Border Hunters.
Correct.
But we still have Gringo Hunter.
Right. Yeah, and whether or not that gets kind of tinkered with and repositioned and sold at some point or released at some point is anyone's best guess. But I don't think we could have done Border Hunters had we not done that one
Exactly.
first. You know,
Exactly.
we learned so much about quote shooting an action a film on a low budget, which is not easy to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we had a car.
We launched a car off a cliff.
car.
We did, yeah. Remember, Ruben paid a couple $100 for that car, I think, and we launched it off that cliff.
And you had one shot, one take, and you guys did it.
Yeah, we had 4 or 5 cameras set up, and we were down on a thing to make the car, you know, hit the ramp and flip, and it did, and it flipped, and it landed on the precipice of the hill, and then it almost didn't roll over. It was like we all watched it like, oh, and then it rolled over and it did its thing. But
that was a cool scene.
Yeah.
So what was your did you enjoy Border Hunters more or Gringo Hunter?
You know,
I mean, they're different stories, but kind of similar.
Gosh, that's a little Sophie's Choice moment there for me. It's hard to compare. They're very different.
Yeah.
There was something about the size and scope of Border Hunters that was definitely different than Gringo Hunter, the first one we did. But the first one was also, you know, it was the first one, and it was in a lot of ways it was, you know, Jake's backstory, the character that I play, and what kind of got him to the prison that we find him in Border Hunters. And it had a great cast also, and so hopefully that one someday can be, you know, we can get around the legalese that is involved and get it out there under maybe a different name.
Rename it.
You know, and if not, I'll always have a copy, you know, and I'll pop it in when I'm an old man and be like,
Also, I know we did Hate Thyself together last year in New Orleans, and that is going to be premiering at Screamfest in
New Orleans.
Screamfest NOLA. November 1st.
Yeah, coming up this weekend.
Saturday. So
if you're in New Orleans, that'll be fun.
And that was so much fun to film, and Oscar Torrey killed it. So did Gary.
Yeah, you know, Siobhan Mocker
did an amazing job.
The director of that, Siobhan did. We just always call him Shiv. Siobhan did a great job directing that as his first time out, debut director, and shot beautifully, of course. And it was, you know, shooting a horror film in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really was.
The coldest January, I think, in New Orleans history. It was like the swamps was frozen and the alligators were. You
guys had some amazing shots. I mean, like in the swamps, you know, it just.
We were really fortunate. The producers one day, I believe it was Ish and Siobhan were out, and their brother Sid. I think they were out location scout, and they heard this like semi-automatic rifles shooting off in the distance, and they kind of went to go explore, which is not anything I would ever do, but good on them because it was a happy accident. They investigated the sound and found these actual SWAT members from Baton Rouge Police Department, I believe. They were doing some training, and so I started talking to them, and then next thing you know, we are using one of those guys, one of the SWAT team members' father's swamp that has been used for other locations in the past, and we got to use the actual SWAT team in the cold open. And so I played a cop alongside Oscar Torre and Chris Butler, and the three of us were on the back of one of those airboats.
I've seen the shot. It's badass.
It's an amazing shot, but it was singular, and I live in Oregon for much of the year, and so I'm used to cold weather. I'm an alpine skier, all that good stuff. I love the cold. Sure, bring it on. This was one of the coldest things I've ever experienced in my life. Oh my God! And we were on these. It's 34 degrees in New Orleans. I'm not even joking, and so the humidity made it bone cold. And they're on these airboats with the SWAT teams in front of us. We're on one, and there are two on the others, and we're like on these swamps. And then at one point, the SWAT team's airboat got in front of us. And we all just ate swamp water for like 2 minutes, and we were drenched to the bone. And by the time we pulled it in, we were all shivering. So,
did you see any gators out there?
We didn't because it was so cold. They were all frozen. They said go in their gator holes. Learned a lot. They go into their gator holes for winter, and sometimes because they're so cold blooded, when it gets that cold, they actually can freeze.
Wow.
That was my first time tasting gator. Also went and had some fried gator at one of the local hangouts.
Nice.
Not my favorite, but more power to you if you like it. It's a little fishy. Does not taste like chicken. Lies. But no, it was a lot of fun shooting there. We had a great time.
Yeah, that was a great film.
Yeah.
And then also, I know that you got a mold of your face done. Yeah. How was that experience?
I've done a couple molds for heads before. They put your head in dental alginate, basically, which is the stuff they take your molds of teeth, right, when you go to the dentist. And then oftentimes they'll put little straws up your nose
so you can breathe.
And then you have to hold really still for while they make that mold, and you can't move, and it gets heavier because they keep loading it on. And so you're sitting there in a chair, trying to breathe, trying to relax, do all the things.
Claustrophobic.
And you just suppress that tickle in your throat and all that stuff. And then they crack it open, and you kind of see your likeness, and it's always a bit intense. The worst one I had to do was one for the Scottish play Macbeth, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And the director wanted my head chopped off at the end, which is what happens. But he wanted my mouth to be open, so I had to do the dental alginate with a ping pong ball in my mouth all the time. And you have to sit there for about 30 minutes. So I feel like a stuffed pig. And that was worse. That was worse because I started lockjaw, started tickling, I want to cough. It was like total claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the day's end, I'm not digging ditches. It's not hard work. I'm a little claustrophobic, and it's a funny feeling, of course, to have your face cast. But also a treat. Like, how often does that happen?
And I've seen the scene. I watched the movie, and it looks so real.
No spoilers, but doesn't end well for everyone in the film.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video. See you guys later.
Thanks, y'all.